Hi, and welcome to another episode of the What's Running You podcast. I wanted to kind of piggyback on a little piece of what we were talking about last week. We were talking about moving to the hero and through action. Because that action piece, I just want to tell a quick story. And, because I've dealt with, a lot of that when you're a victim, you're in fear, you're in anxiety. And I can be a very anxious person. And I can be, like I've said before, I'm such a weird combination of carefree and anxious. But I talk about this in the book, when I was in third grade, my grandfather, my dad's dad, and my third grade teacher passed away in like a short period of time. And for some reason, that just flipped me out. Not for some reason, obvious reason, but it just flipped me out. And I just remember like thinking like, oh my gosh, my parents are going to die. And I remember I just got very anxious. I wasn't that anxious person before that, but it was like, um, you know, it was like my anxiety faucet had been turned on high, and I couldn't turn it off. And I remember like if my mom was late picking me up somewhere, I would just literally like panic. And, I had to go talk to somebody, and I remember it getting better, but so but I still feel like I deal with it, like I still have like little things where I'm like, wow, that is probably still that thing from back then, like sometimes I don't want to like turn the TV off. It's gonna make me sound crazy, why am I saying this, but like on like a bad image or something, and I was like, Morgan, that's so silly, that is literally tied back to that thing in third grade, it's yeah. So uh but that's anxiety and fear, and it can be very, very difficult. But I do think one of the ways we get out of that is through action. And I remember when I turned 30, my wife blindfolded me and got me in the car, and we started driving. She took like weird routes. I had no idea where we were going, and I just wanted to be by a beach with a pina colada in my hand, and I was just like, but I was like, I don't think she'd blindfold me for that. So I really had no idea what was going on. And we pull up, and she tells me to take my blindfold off, and we're at the Paris Valley skydiving facility. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? And she literally told me, I didn't tell you about this before because you would have worried about it for days. So I did appreciate that. But then I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to jump out of a plane. And it was something I guess I had interest in, but I wasn't like prepared that day. But she was just going to do it, so I was like, oh my God, all right, I just got to do it. I just have to do it. So we go through all this training, and it's tandem, and I'm talking to my guy who I'm going to be strapped onto, and I notice my wife, like her tandem person's telling her how to land and all this stuff. And I go to this guy, I was like, shouldn't we like be talking about how to land and everything? He's like, let's just make sure, let's just see if the parachute opens. It's like, great, all right, that is just fabulous. So we, luckily, I talked to this guy. I saw this guy and I was like, man, told him what had happened. I was like, tell me, what do you do? Because he said he'd done thousands of jumps. And I was like, all right, what's the secret? And he said, here's the secret. He's like, you're going to be scared. You're going to be fearful. But here's the thing. When you jump, your fear stays with the plane. I was like, wow, that's cool. So you don't feel the fear anymore. It's gone with the plane because you're so immersed in the present, and like you're just overwhelmed, and it's amazing. And so I was thinking about that as we were walking to the thing. We get there and you're like, oh my God, the thing goes down and people are just jumping out of the plane and disappearing. And I was like, oh, here we go. So we did it. We did a flip backwards out, and that guy was right. Like we jumped and I wasn't fearful anymore. I was in the moment and had a great experience. And so there's something to that action and being in the present moment. Fear is all, kind of forward focused, and anxiety. And it's important, I do think like talk a lot about fear versus love in the book. And obviously I think we want to live from a place of love, but like fear has its purpose, like it's showing, it's our brain trying to protect us and everything. But I mean, mine can just get over, really overdone. So I think that acting that action piece and like go with the moment, it does really help, and it moves you into that hero role. That's what we were talking about last week. So action, jump out, and the fear is going to stay behind you, and you're going to be more in the present moment. You're going to be doing something, and I think that's yeah. It's still like a pina colada would have been great though. What are we doing? But it was awesome. I'm glad I did it, and yeah. So jump, because the fear will stay with the plane.